I'm Desmond Shaw. Jeff and Susie, back to you in the studio.
All right, Desmond, thank you very much. And now let's go to the ground. Our Tom Waite just spoke with a witness. Tom, what can you tell us?
Well, hi there, Susie. We'll get to that witness in just a second here. What's your name, darling?
Mariana.
Mariana, tell me what you saw here. Right before you tell us, so I'm just going to give people a sense of where we are right now. Let's step out of the way here. That is the church just over our heads there where this all started. That's the ground view from where this man was climbing up and setting the cross on fire. And then he came down sort of into these apartments over here, and we're trying to sort of figure out which apartment he's in. Mariana, tell me what you saw when you were standing out here.
Well, first I was standing in the other corner because he was lighting the church on fire, and at first we thought he was trying to jump off the building, and then he went across and he was trying to kick the cross off, but when he noticed he couldn't, he tried to light it on fire.
Was he saying anything? Was he yelling anything?
No, he was actually throwing his clothes, and he threw his sandals off the building.
And you couldn't tell if he was trying to communicate with anyone on the ground?
No, he wasn't. I noticed he was actually trying to hide from the light of the helicopter.
Okay, and then did you see, I know it's kind of hard to tell because he was jumping from building to building, grabbing onto utility cables. Scotty, why don't we just kind of pan off there and just show people the area that we think that they're sort of focusing on is kind of where Scott's showing you. It's kind of these buildings, a series of buildings right off to the side of the church. Did you see him jumping from the roof down onto the other?
Yeah, I did. I saw him jumping from roof to roof. I actually got it on my phone. He was getting inside of trees as well.
Yeah, and I saw him. He was holding a number of like utility cords. We can't really tell what kind of cables they were, but some sort of cables or power cords.
The building in front of the tree actually is the one he was trying to climb up of, and he succeeded, and he was passing. That was the last time I saw him about 5 minutes ago.
And also for our viewers at home, from the sky, it's a little hard because you don't really have the audio from the ground. It's crazy down here. There are so many choppers, police vehicles. It is like an armed encampment down here as they're trying to get this guy. And I guess, now, do you live in one of these buildings?
No, I live like 2 blocks away in one of the houses.
Okay, because there's been evacuations here, too. I just saw some families being told if they wanted to grab some of their stuff.
Oh, yeah, I saw a lot of cars leaving as we speak. There's a lot of traffic here. There's never been this much traffic here.
Yeah, this is nuts. And then did you see, and so he never the entire time, he was just kind of jumping and jumping. Did he look like he was looking for anything? I mean, I know that his behavior obviously was very erratic, but how would you describe what he was doing? Did he seem like he was, he understood where he was? Where was he looking?
I think he was kind of confused because he didn't know what he was doing at first. It looked like he was kind of undecisive of what he was going to do. But as he started going towards the cross, he kind of just had the opportunity, I guess he thought, to kick it. And the cross was actually too strong, and it stayed up.
And then could you tell that he had some sort of anything to... an accelerant? How was he able to even get the cross on fire? Could you see from down here?
Oh, he actually got the where the bell is. He got it on fire, but not the cross. And he had a lighter on him.
He had a lighter on him. And then did he just sit there? I mean, I know we've got some aerial shots of that for folks at home that they can see it. And just to give kind of a recap, I know Desmond was talking about it and our anchors have been talking about it, but he was swinging from power line to power. What was going through your mind when you saw him grab a power line and start swing, or a cable line? We don't really know what it was, but what was going through your mind when you saw him swinging around on that?
I thought it was very crazy because here nothing really happens, and then for the first time it's just you see this guy doing so many things in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's super disturbing, and we, you can only imagine his state of mind for someone to do this, but the idea that he was grabbing these utility lines, who knows whether they were electrified or charged or whatever. It must have been kind of scary down here seeing all that.
Yeah, it was. My brother had just gotten here as well, and we hadn't seen him, so we came around the block and we see him trying to hide in a tree. There's a tree in front of us right now.
How was he? So wait, let's move closer to Scott. Which tree was it? Kind of pointed out to me. Which one was it?
That one right there.
That big one?
Yeah.
Okay, that's that huge one. So he was like up in that tree.
Yeah, he was trying to hide in that tree and hide in any tree that he saw. I noticed that in other buildings there was more trees, and he tried to hide in a bush.
Now, did the police, did they come up to him? Were they up to the tree? Were they trying to coax him down?
No, they weren't, but earlier they had a ladder on top of the church. They had it, and he was actually throwing his clothes at them, so they couldn't actually go up there.
Wow. And were the police trying to communicate with him?
That I remember, no, they weren't, and right now they still aren't. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I mean, we could see from one of our chopper views at one point he was scaling or it looked like he was sort of scaling the wall of one of these buildings or holding onto one of these cables and kind of up against the side. In fact, it might have been from the vantage point we're at now, but now the concern is that he's in one of these buildings. Now, everyone you know is okay, right?
Yes, everyone I know. My brother and sister are right here with me as well.
Good. Well, we want to thank you so much, Mariana. That was very sweet of you to tell us what happened. I know it's probably not the easiest thing to look at, so thank you so much. Well, there you guys have it. I mean, it is just kind of a wait-and-see situation here. I'm sure Desmond has a better view from where he is of kind of what is going on, because where we are, you can see obviously the church and the tower where this guy climbed up. And just to give you a sense from the ground, that column that he climbed, it is, I don't want to guess how tall it is, but it's not a low. It's a large structure. So we're not talking about just a few stories here. I mean, that building is quite large and it's very high up. So he was definitely quite elevated from the ground here. I would say at least, Scott, what would you guess how tall is that?
Several hundred feet.
Yeah, well, we're going to say more than 100 feet, maybe several hundred. It's tall. And so certainly he was in a lot of danger, and certainly if he had kicked anything off there or knocked any of that construction equipment down, that could have been very dangerous as well. It looks like the church from the ground has a lot of scaffolding on it, and it looks like there's a lot of repair work or renovation work going on that church. So it's not clear what's loose in terms of the building materials and obviously the scaffolding. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Tom, giving us the very latest from the ground there at that location at 324 South Chicago in Boyle Heights.